moving in to our final team of the NFC North, we have the Minnesota Vikings. Our narrative for them is, will we get to see if J.J. McCarthy is the real deal year one? I think it's in their best interest to probably sit J.J. all year. But I could also see them throwing him out there. I mean, you have Justin Jefferson, you have Jordan Addison for now, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones. The O-line is really good pass blocking. And you have one of the best offensive play callers in the league, so you kind of are set up for success with the rookie quarterback. I will say, though, I think a lot of rookie quarterbacks benefit from sitting, but that's just not the world we live in anymore. But J.J. McCarthy is still only 21. He was born in 2003, which sounds insane. But I think they really need to sit him. And I will say this. This is very interesting. I think, to me at least, it's interesting to me. I feel like they were Drake May before they were J.J. McCarthy. And to me, that tells me they're okay with getting a very young, raw quarterback and sitting and developing him. Because I don't think Drake May would have started day one.
Oh no, you're spot on, and it even plays into what Jared Mayo just was saying today about how, I don't know if you saw, but how Jacoby Brissett is clearing away the most pro-ready quarterback. Translated, he will be the starter on day one. So we're at a point too. And what I think my biggest thing about the Vikings is that I just want to reiterate to every Vikings fan is that they're in a very similar boat to kind of like, I'm trying to think of like a team that there's most similar to. And it's, help me out here in a sec, Hunter. You're going to get what I'm saying though, where the future, we're looking 3 or 4 years down the road, and I really see the vision. I really like the vision. But I think to kind of like counteract what I'm saying, where it's kind of a contingency, is the plan almost only really develops the way you want it to if you don't take it quickly. Right? Because we look at this roster, the interior D line is just, it's not good. It's probably the biggest problem with the team, right? So the interior D line is a huge issue. Yeah, we got a lot of promise with Dallas Turner and Jonathan Grenard, which should end up being a really good edge duo long term for them. But that's like, they can only really eat at their peak when that interior is figured out too, right? Because they can't do it all themselves. And then we move over and we look at the DBs and we're like, okay, this DB room in the nicest way possible is incredibly shaky. And then incredibly shaky with Harrison Smith, who's getting old, who's a Hall of Fame legendary player, but he's getting old. Let's just call it how it is, right? The linebacking core, okay, I like the linebacking core, right? Like Ivan Pace has had a fantastic rookie season. You put him next to Blake Cashman, you got a top 5 interior linebacker duo. I'm not going to knock you there in any way. But then we move back over to the O-line. And it's like, minus the tackle situation with Christian Darrisaw and O'Neal, I mean, realistically, is anybody in that interior really selling you that they're, I know Vikings fans don't have a big problem with them, but they're not moving the needle for me. I think you still have work to do on the interior of the O-line. And you also potentially still have work to do in the receiving core. If some of these rumors about Jordan Addison, we got to still fill out other things. I think, and also if TJ Hawkinson doesn't come back to being the same TJ Hawk, I think really to wrap it up all into one thing, right, is that the Vikings, no matter how you slice it, are not ready to go compete for Lombardi right now. If you can compile a couple more years of just getting solid, not even great, but just solid draft capital, filling these positions, spending the money where it needs to be spent, free agency, letting the old assets walk and or retire, all of a sudden the Vikings will be right back into like very competitive range. But I do think it's pretty safe and objective to say that whether you throw Sam Darnold out there tomorrow or J.J. McCarthy out there tomorrow, this team is not ready to go win a Lombardi. And as we always like to remind people, Hunter, in this league, if you're not first, you're last. So what's the point of trying to fit in somewhere in the middle when you could fit somewhere towards the back end and get better draft compensation for it?
Well, that has kind of how I feel about the Cardinals. Like, I feel like they have not rushed the rebuild, and I think they've made the right decisions. And you can almost compare it kind of Seattle a little bit. Like, it doesn't seem like they're rushing the quarterback situation. It doesn't feel like they're rushing, to get guys out to collect, to basically rip the whole thing down. And because the Vikings actually have a pretty good roster, it's more of like, well, Kirk wasn't able to get them over the hump, and he was playing top 10 football. And, he was a really good quarterback. So it's almost like, I guess my thing is like, when you look at it, do you ever see J.J. McCarthy being better than Kirk Cousins? I mean, never say never, but like.
Okay, look, again, personally, I really do think he can be a very similar type of quarterback to Kirk Cousins, even in a sense like outside of the pocket, he has a lot more skill than
A lot
Kirk.
more versatility, a lot
Like
more
I do
mobility.
think
Yeah.
again, I've been a little on the out favored range on this one, but I definitely am. I've been on the train where I'm like, you know what, I can see JJ actually being a very productive, very right, like really good pro. I really can. But again, it's very contingent on how the Vikings handle this because he is very raw still. Like the tools are tools that make your eyes pop and say, like, okay, if we can get him together and he has the mental makeup, he really could be that guy for us. But those are the things that are hardest to answer because we don't know about those things yet. And we have to see those things develop long term. I do love the physical tools. I love the bag. Now it's up to them to be able to Bob the Builder the shit and actually put it together. But to answer your question, I do like the tool bag. It's just a matter of, is it going to actually be able to be put together long term?
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's going to be tough because I also think that I struggle with McCarthy personally. I think I'm of the belief that more players fail because of their situation and surrounding than they do based off their talent level. But I also do struggle to see in a quarterback driven. But I mean, I guess the closest thing you could compare to him would probably be like a Brock Purdy, no? Like in terms of style and size.
That's what I'm gonna say. Look, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna remind everybody too. Because this is kind of where like the discourse always comes with JJ. Like it's like, well, he didn't have to do this crazy stuff at Michigan. He didn't really carry the team. But like that's not a bad thing. Like if you're playing on a good team and you're doing everything you need to do to go win the national championship, like you're just doing your job. And I agree, like yes, he didn't have to show all these flashes. He didn't have to be that guy that some of these other guys do. But look, the bottom line to me is how I feel about it is if you can do those things and get the job done, and maybe even let's look at it in a positive light, be willing to sacrifice your own personal highlight tape, your own personal success to be a part of the team's success even more. To me, that's a really good trait to have. And that's that to spin it positively. That's what JJ showed is he showed, look, I don't have to be the star of the show. I'm going to just do what I'm asked to do. And I want to win football games. And at the end of the day, that is a damn good trait to have. And you got to applaud that, right?
100%. Any final thoughts on the Vikings before we wrap it up?
Final thoughts on the Vikings. You know what? Vikings fans, this year is going to be interesting because it's either going to be a complete 180 of what me and Hunter expect, or it's going to be the rebuild, kind of the slow competitive rebuild. But I feel like there's not much in between. That's what they've kind of
done the last couple of years, interestingly enough.
Yeah, they know. I feel like there's just not much in between this year. It's going to be one or the other, but.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been team previews for all NFC North teams. If you don't know ball and want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a like. Let us know in the comments who you think will win the NFC North and what is your favorite narrative going into the year. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your night.